Have you ever experienced something so crippling in your life that has made you feel broken? I have. Are you someone who has a giving heart but is struggling to feel good themselves? Are you consistently putting your needs aside to take care of everyone else? If so, you're not alone. Giving starts with giving to yourself so that you are able to give of yourself to other people. Isn't it time you took back control and discovered what makes you tick? Join me in my journey and find out how you can feel better about yourself, live your best life, and share that with others. Thinking of yourself, it doesn't make you selfish, it makes you brave. I'm Nelia, and this is the Giving Starts With You podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Giving Starts With You podcast. I am so honored that you guys have joined us again for another wonderful interview today. And I really hope that you're getting value from the show because ultimately the show was created for you so that you could feel part of a community. Today, I've got a fellow Canadian on. Her name is Shannon Swerdan. Welcome to the show, Shannon.
Thanks so much.
How are you today?
Oh, just great. So excited to be here and to be able to share my story. Yeah.
Yes, I cannot wait. Thank you. So Shannon is the author of the book Love's Message in a Dime. So in a little bit, I'm going to ask Shannon to maybe talk a little bit about her book. I can't wait to hear what it's about. Shannon also has shared with me that after working 39 years behind a desk in the accounting department, God awakened her soul with a passion and a purpose of making a difference in the lives of other people. And I really love that message. So thank you for sharing that and welcome. Welcome to the community.
Thank you so much. Yes, never in my world did I think that I would be writing a book. I never dreamt of writing a book. I had no plans of writing a book. But when this happened in my life, it was like, oh my gosh, I just have to get this on paper. So what actually happened was in 2013, my daughter's boyfriend's aunt had passed away. And one of the things unique about this lady is wherever she would go, she would find a dime. So after she passed, my daughter started to find dimes. It was like they were everywhere. She said, Mom, she said, could she be leaving them? I said, no, I've never heard of that before. I have no idea. Well, in 2015, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And she was only given 6 months to a year to live. So we were just beyond devastated. How could this be happening? So I just decided to ask her. I said, Mom, could you leave me dimes when you cross over? Could you just leave me dimes to leave me a message that you're close by and watching over us? Well, Mom crossed over on March the 28th, 2016. And that's when this journey began. My brother was the first. She'd been gone a week, and he texted me and he said, he can't believe all the dimes he's finding. I said, what do you mean? I said, we hadn't found any dimes. But then they just started to come. I would get into my vehicle. There'd be one by my feet. There'd be one sitting in the passenger side seat. There'd be one in a bed frame, one in my wash machine, one in my dryer. Like they were just all over. And it was only just a dime. It wasn't like there was other coins by it. Like there wasn't nothing else. So one day I was in my dad's fridge just shortly after Mom passed. And I noticed there was 12 packages of cream cheese in the fridge. Now this cream cheese was slightly past the best before date. Now my mom was not wasteful. So I just decided to ask her. I says, okay, Mom, if I'm supposed to use that cream cheese, could you leave me a dime? Well, never in my world did I think that I'd asked that question about 11 o'clock in the morning. By 5 o'clock that night, I had my answer. For attached to the magnetic clasp inside my purse was my dime. No word of a lie, if you would take and try to throw a dime and make it attached to that clasp, it'd be almost impossible. How did that dime get there? Now, as I went around and I would share my story and I would show people the picture of the dime attached to that clasp, people would want to hug me. They'd want to grasp my hands. They were just so thankful that I shared. And then what I found was that other people started finding dimes. It was like a chain reaction. It was like they were right here listening. It was just incredible how this domino effect has transpired. Like, people have told me, it's one lady, I just shared it with her recently in the fall, last fall. And she says, well, you know what? She says, I'm going to ask my dad for a dime. And we are in the US because we actually winter in the US for 6 months when we can. We have a home there. So she said to her dad, she says, okay, Dad, after I left, she says, Dad, okay, leave me a dime. Well, the next time I saw her, she said, Shannon, you won't believe this. But she said, I went and I changed my bedding and there was a dime in her bedding. Now, it was not a Canadian dime. She's a Canadian. She's in the US and it is a Canadian dime in her bed. Like, had it been American, it was like, okay, we've been in the US for a while, you know what I mean? But my mom, I believe, because she actually leaves me American dimes here. It's like,
Really?
Shannon, don't question it. Don't question the message. And every dime that I find, no word of a lie, it gets taken and it gets put in a little, I've got a heart-shaped container that I put my dimes in. And I know, because that way I want to know absolutely for sure that that dime is not there. Now, most recently, I'd gone to a conference and there was a daughter and her mother were there. And I just said to the daughter, I said, do you ever find dimes? And she looked at me and she says, you have no idea how many dimes we find. She said, between me and my mom, we find so many dimes. And I looked at her and I said, have you lost someone close to you? And she said, I lost my husband about 3 years ago. And I just goosebumped from the bottom of my feet right to the top of my head. It was like, oh my gosh, he could be leaving them for you. Well, she's bawling, her mom's bawling, and I'm just goosebumping like crazy. Like, it is just, I can't tell you the stories that people have shared. So when I went on the internet, it was like, oh my gosh, this isn't just me. And you'll notice in my book, because I literally was guided. I didn't have to come up with any of the stories. Every month something would happen. And that's really what the book is. It's a timeline of all the events that exactly 100% how they took place. And so many people, when I share my story, they know of a dime they just picked up, or they know of one sitting in the living room or something, like their message was already for them. And they just, after I share it with them, it's like, yeah, that was, it is your message for today. There's just no doubt in my heart. It's like, I know it's her. And actually, to be honest, the biggest stories happened after this book was released. So I'm in the process of writing my second book. And that, because of those stories, I actually put the word undeniable on my back cover of my book. Because it, without a doubt, life is everlasting. Like, it is, there is no way when this next book gets released that anybody, without a doubt, they're right here. They are right here listening. Because I asked a minister, I said, how is this? And he said, Shannon, it's another dimension. He said, they're right here. I said, where's heaven? Is heaven up above or is it right here? And he said, Shannon, they're right here. And that's all I can explain to you. In fact, I'll just share one of the dimes that I have a stow and go van where you flip the seats into the floor of the van, right? So I flip the seats into the floor and I look, there's a dime sitting right there on the top of the bottom of the seat. Now, it didn't fly in front of me and it's not stuck there. But that would be the bottom of that seat. Nothing else, just that dime. And I have a cat. A cat's well, we have a cat, so she takes one piece of her cat food and puts it in her water dish every day. Drives me crazy. So what I did was I folded a towel so that so I have the dish on top of that towel, right?
Right.
Well, I'm vacuuming. I lift up that towel and there's a dime underneath that towel. Like
Giving
yeah.
me goosebumps too.
Okay, so that's the thing is when I tell people the story and people get goosebumps, it's because what I'm telling you is true, without a doubt. Like it's true. And there's so many, like I said, it's just so
It's
uplifting.
comforting, isn't
It
it?
is. It is. And that's exactly what people tell me. They said like they feel comforted, they feel uplifted. Just thinking that of the possibility of a life everlasting, right? And I mean, for myself, it took my whole grieving process, like losing my mom. She was my absolutely best friend. And just having that knowing that she was right beside us, it just comforted our whole family. Like I
Without a
said, it's
doubt,
not,
when you
and it's not just me. Like that's just it. It's not just me. My dad, my dad just recently found one. Okay, this is where his dime is. Um, you know, your stove, it's got the ledge in the back.
yes.
Why would there be a dime sitting right on top of that? Just a dime. And his tenant downstairs, my mom, like my mom was, she had been in the house already. This tenant had been there for several years before my mom had passed. So my mom knew her really, really well. Well, when she opened her Bible, there was a dime in her Bible.
Oh my goodness. It's kind of like, I don't know, third sense. Like it's just, I have a friend, it's not with dimes, but she has the same thing with her family with feathers. Or she'll find $1 for her. So I don't know. And it seems to be everybody in that family. So I don't know. It was a dime specifically meant something, or was just like, do you think it was because you had asked her to leave?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Because I'd never heard of this before, Nelia. Like
No,
I
I
didn't,
haven't either.
I had, like I said, it came into my life. I mean, only a few years after my daughter had had the experience. So I knew nothing about dimes. But the thing is, as I share my story with people, people have known about it for years. And you'll find that at the end, the ending of my book. The ending of my book is like, oh my gosh, like it was like how the heck, and it happened at Christmas time, like the most beautiful ending.
Well, don't tell us what it
Well, I
is,
won't
because we'll
tell
have
the
to read the
ending, but
book.
it's like that's what I'm saying to you. It's not something that it was new to me in my life. But I mean, other people would get different signs. Like some people say, well, they never find dimes. And I think, I mean, they don't really want to scare us, but some people do. Like tons of people get feathers or butterflies or dragonflies or
Yeah,
cardinals. Like
it's
there are
so
so many
comforting.
signs that they do leave us, right? But because with the dime, and this is what I found out later too, was that the number 10, the number 1 signifies unity and oneness, and the 0 magnifies that energy. There's something very, very angelic about a dime. And I didn't know that.
That's very interesting. You're enlightening me today with this, because it's not something that I really thought about before, but how comforting and how soothing that could be when you're going through the grieving process, like you said. We were talking earlier about how it took me so long. I suppressed my feelings for so long. And I don't really remember. Like, I feel like somebody was behind me,
Yeah.
sort of, like I could see something, but I didn't find anything like that. And I think if I had, it would have been very, very comforting.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, my whole grieving process was totally, and we had actually handed out, I had handed out lily bulbs to everybody that was at Mom's Celebration of Life, because what I wanted was, as those lilies, they'd plant them, they'd think of Mom, right? So every year, so people would send me their pictures of their lilies. Well, a couple from Saskatchewan actually came to Mom's Celebration, and he had sent me the picture of the beautiful lily that they had. And then I ran into him again, and he says, well, didn't you see the dime? And I says, what do you mean, what dime? I thought you sent me a picture of the lily. He says, no, there was a dime sitting right in front of the lily.
Oh my goodness. I'm so
Like,
glad that you wrote the book, because it sounds like so many beautiful stories intertwined in there. just like one right after the other. It's a message, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I'd heard of pennies from heaven before.
Yes.
I'd heard that before, but I won't tell you what happened in the book, but yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Times.
I'll have to I mean,
Yeah.
knock on wood, but if something were to happen to yeah, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna be on the lookout now for those types of. It's it's so tough to lose someone and to lose a parent and just to feel for even a single moment and put our belief, in our heart because we know what we're feeling is true, and just
Yeah.
to have that glimpse of them again, it's so.
Mhm.
It's like I'm speechless. Like you cannot. How many of us would give just another day, another moment? And when you get those reminders that she's still there, I'm sure it's such a beautiful experience for you.
Yeah. Death is one of the greatest fears today, isn't it? It's just,
Yes.
especially in North America, whereas other countries, they actually, some countries, they actually celebrate a death because they know that they don't die, I believe. And I think we just have such a big fear around it, right?
Right. And such an
And
end to it. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Whereas if we, and that's why I'm hoping to support mental health and suicide, because I really believe that suicide is, I mean, it's just beyond devastating for everybody else. That, it's got to be one of the worst things that a family ever has to deal with, right? And if this book can help those people that are thinking of doing it, that, oh my gosh, if there is something more, maybe how do I know what that more is going to be, right? And that's why I hope to have this book in places, in
Give
those
hope.
establishments.
It'll give hope. Absolutely.
Yeah, if they know that, oh my gosh, there is something more than, oh my gosh, maybe, yeah, maybe life would be worse than what I have it right now, right? I
It
mean,
can help so many people because people do have such a hard time with grief. And even though they may go to grief counseling and they may do, all the things to help themselves, sometimes it's just the connection, what you feel. So the fact that that just shows up like that, I just, when I think of, I don't know if death scares me, dying alone scares me. You know, I don't want to be alone. But to know that I could leave that for my family and they're comforted, that helps me through that fear. That I can leave dimes for my family and have them comforted, it means something.
exactly. Well, actually, my husband's sister, she had coded, and they had to actually bring her back. And when she came back, she said all her family was there, like her mom, her dad, her uncle, just everybody. She told me the colors were out of this world. She, it was the most beautiful thing. And after she shared that story with me, it was like, no, I have no fear, right? It was just, it was so
Yeah,
uplifting to
sometimes
hear
you hear
that.
things. Yeah, my mother-in-law was pronounced dead, I think it was 3 times, where she was gone for like 10 minutes. Like her body was cold and they revived her. And she said that each of those times she felt very peaceful. She felt healthy. She felt like, and she was able to tell us a little bit about how she was feeling. It's very, I don't know. It's a beautiful thing when I don't know how to explain this, but it's just, I had a dream after my dad passed away, and we were
Mhm.
sitting at the cemetery on a bench, and I kept saying to him, "Okay, you got to tell me, why do we suffer in life? You got to tell me like the answers to all these questions. Why is there this? Why is there that? Tell me what is it like up in heaven?" Like I was asking, it was so vivid. And he says, you'll know when you need to know. He goes, "I can't give you any of the answers, but there's a reason for everything." And that was the last time I saw him. And then he just kind of went away. And I was just like, that stayed with me, And it's like, maybe we shouldn't wonder so much. Maybe it'll just, but it's another
Yeah.
sign of, yes. And we all want to believe that, we all want to believe and be connected because whether you believe it in or not, when you start to see signs and so many people saying similar things, people that you don't associate with or that you don't know and you haven't told these things to before, you know? Be open to the conversation, right? Be open that this message is coming. So I'm so happy that you wrote a book about it. Like, so you experienced all these things and then you decided I need to share these stories.
Oh
And so
my God.
that's why you started writing.
It was just, I just, as I touched people, like I'm just saying, they just the hugs and everything, it was like, oh my gosh, I can't do it one at a time, right? So I just know in my heart that I'm supposed to be on stage and share this story. Like it's just, and God actually, something happened for me last fall. So last fall I was casted for a part in a play. It was in Yuma, and it was a fairly big part. The lady that had been casted for it was unable to come down, so they were in search for a person that could take over this part. So I actually sang solo, and I sang solo in church mega years ago. So I sang solo as well as acting, which I'd never really had any experience at, and I had a huge part in the play. And this play was for 2 days, and it was like close to 1,000 people is who I
Wow.
had performed in front of. And you know, it was like a natural up there. I was comfortable on stage. I truly believe that God was preparing me to be on stage to share this story.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that because the show is all about giving. Giving starts with you, and you're giving to other people, and you're giving to yourself because you're healing your grief and you're healing all these things by sharing your story. So I think this is a beautiful gift that you're sharing with everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, it touches, I can't tell you how my heart just, the gratitude in my heart is just so big. And I just thank my mom for the gift, this wonderful gift to the world.
So when you turn around and you see that dime, what's the first thing that you feel?
I just say thank you, mom. Like instantly. It's just, I just know it was her, right? It's just, yeah, you just pick it up, you smile. And I mean, we've laughed at so many of them because like, it's just like within the family, the sisters and like where they found theirs. And, we were kind of back and forth. Um, just this summer, we were with a neighbor had just lost his wife, and she I mentioned her in my first book because she really was knew about the dimes because they had come into her life. And oh yeah, that's in my book.
Yes.
And so she was well aware of it, and so we're still hoping that she'll come through, but there's no time over there. So when it starts to happen, it's on their time, right? So it's been
Yeah.
6 months, but you never know when it can. Like for us, it started quite soon. And for others, a lot of the times it does start quite soon. But so we were with this neighbor, and we were sitting around the campfire, and there's a dime right by my husband's feet, just a dime,
And I
like
wonder
outside, right by the fire pit, right? Like, so
I
that
wonder if it depends on the type of personality too, because maybe they're trying to be cheeky and wait it out. Like I guess it depends. Like I just think about, depending on the personality of the person who's passed too.
totally, totally, 100%. And they don't want to scare us, right? And that's the thing I think too, is some people are kind of queered out, like, oh my gosh, like if they're right here. So I know for me and with moms, so many of them are my vehicles. Like it's either by my back door, but mind you, I found them on top of comforters too, right? Like it's not just, but a lot of the times, and most of the times it's with people. It's seldom by myself because it's that validation. Like honest, it's like somebody else seen it.
Do you find that you see them on days that you really kind of need to feel her connection, or is it random?
Lots of times it is random, but in my first book, most of them there were requests that I actually asked for them, and they were there.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. And my girlfriend, she was with me most of the way, and she's the absolute biggest skeptic. Like, oh my gosh, she would be the first one to like, so, and she is such a firm believer because it has happened to her so much that she would not bring a dime into her house, literally. And now she just recently lost a close friend of hers, and she's found that the dimes are starting to come again. But like I said, we don't know. It's hard to say because it could be any one of 3 people that she's lost, right? So we just never know which one exactly it is.
And what are you
But
hoping that the message is, the love message inside of that? Just, I'm here, you're okay.
yeah, you know what? I named the book was Love's Message in a Dime. It was my mom's love's message, right?
Oh,
So my next book is going to be Heaven's Message, Dime and Dime Again.
oh, I
And
love that.
the only reason is that Love's Message in a Dime. Actually, I don't even know if you've seen the picture of the book.
I've seen the cover, yes.
So um, people could think of it as being a love story. Do you know what I mean? Because Love's
Mm-hmm.
Message in a Dime, like it's hard to say what it is. So this way, with me going with Heaven's Message, then they will know that it's from somebody that's passed, right? So that just came to me too. Like it's just, yeah, I never really had to. And like I said,
Congratulations on getting your story out. I think that's beautiful.
yeah, and just keep looking for dimes. You just never know. Like I
Now I'm
can,
going to be looking.
yeah, you know what? To be honest, you don't even have to look. They're just gonna be there.
Wouldn't it be
It's just,
freaky right now if I just looked on my desk and it's like,
well, I'll just tell you one more quick. So we had gone to a dealership. Me and my daughter, we were looking for a new SUV. And the young salesman, he actually, like normally I'm the one that starts this conversation. I says, "Do you want to hear a story?" But he didn't. He was asking me what I was doing in life, and so he actually asked me, and I told him I'd wrote a book, and he wanted to know what the book was about. So he says, "You know what?" He says, "If I find a dime," he says, "I'm going to just lose it because," he says, "I just can't." Yeah.
it's creeping him
So,
out.
yeah. So anyways, so we're pulling out of the dealership, and he comes running around to my side of the vehicle. My daughter rolls down the window, and he's got his hand on his heart. And he says, "My heart is beating so fast right now." He says, "I don't use a coin for anything." He says, "I went into my office. I lifted up my water bottle, and there was a dime under his water bottle."
Yeah, it's creepy, but in a good way. Like,
That's how fast the experience can happen. Like it was like whoever it was that was listening as we were sharing, like they just wanted to let him know that, yeah, I'm right here. So just think of who it could be, right? Yeah,
and I'm sorry that you've lost your mom. That's very difficult,
it is.
but she's still with you.
That's just it. And she gave
How
this
beautiful is that?
absolutely, absolutely wonderful gift to the world. And I'm going to just share one more. And this
Absolutely.
is what happened last year. So last year, I'd gone to a book signing, and a lady was given a book that her daughter has been missing for 10 years.
Oh
They
my
don't
God, I
have
can't
a clue.
imagine.
They have no clue what's happened to her, but they just,
That's one
they,
thing I just can't imagine how that, oh my goodness. The
so
panic.
anyways, and the other lady had got the book for her. So she took one for herself. She took one for this girlfriend. So she dropped it off the same day, and she just handed it to her. And when she opened the book, there was a dime in her book.
Seriously?
Not joking. Within
Oh,
about, it would have
wow.
been within an hour or so of the time that we had left, because me and my dad had gone down for this wedding, and we were on our way back, and I got the phone call, and she said to me, she said, "Do we put dimes in their books?" And I said, "What? Absolutely not. There's no
Oh,
way I would put dimes in books." So those books that morning came out of an absolutely sealed box. Every 5 dimes, I mean, every 5 books are wrapped in plastic. There was not a coin around.
it was not way to get in there. It's phenomenal, remarkable things that there's so much about life and death and in between that we just don't understand, you know, and these things happen and they give us so much peace
It
and
does.
comfort. Yeah, now I'm going to go on and do some research after this because I really want to learn a little bit more about how common it is from what you're saying.
So there's some like I have got Love's Message in a Dime Facebook page that I have just recently started. And like I said, I've been concentrating, working on my second book while the recollection was still there. So now I'm going to start marketing my first one, right? So I know when people go to it and they think, oh, she doesn't have that many likes, because I haven't done any marketing or anything
You know
yet.
what?
So
It's not the numbers that matter.
it just happened. But there is another site that I was on. It was like Dimes from Heaven, or there was something Dimes anyways. And I went on there, and there was a lady that she was going to give meds to her dog, and she was going to use peanut butter. And she
Right.
stuck her knife in the peanut butter, and there was a dime in her peanut
Oh my
butter.
God, really?
That was a very creative angel. Now that's just, there's just no doubt that that is those are messages. They're undeniable messages, right? Like this is tangible. Like it is 100%.
I love that you put them in a container. Did you say like a heart-shaped container? Is that what you said?
I do have a heart-shaped container. What's the chances my book has like a heart with hands? It's a
Yeah.
heart with hands, and yet I found a heart-shaped container for all the dimes.
So how many do you have? Like,
You know, I have no idea. I
oh
have
my
no idea,
goodness.
and that's why when people say, it's like we've gotten so many that I can't even. I've
And you
lost.
keep them all, right?
I do. Because I picked them up and it was like, yeah, you just never know. I mean, obviously, when you find them under restaurant tables or, places where people would be taking their wallets out, those ones would be questionable, right? But
Mhm.
I pick them up anyway. I smile, I pick them up anyways. But you know what?
Or maybe they were left for someone before you.
You know what? And this is it. This is it. But I just even like it. I'm at the grocery store checkout, and my change comes back to me, and I get change a dime, right? And so the cashier behind there, I says, oh my gosh, I says, look, you gave me a dime. I said, you know what? I wrote a book about dimes. And she says, really? And then I start telling her a little bit of my story, and she's starting to cry, like, oh my gosh, she's starting to cry. So I just had to go outside, get my vehicle, grabbed a book, came back, and
Oh,
so I said, Merry Christmas. And she was just beside herself,
oh, that's so kind.
right? It's just like, to me, it's just getting this message out in any way that I can.
And
Yeah.
why I don't want to guess. So, what is the most important reason why you want to what do you want people to feel when they see?
What I want them to feel, I want them to feel that somebody is wanting them to know that they love them, and that they're right beside them. Yeah. They're just sending a message of love. And that's honestly what I said. Just a message of love. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because when we experience something and it changes the way we feel. We want to share that with other people. We want them to feel as good as we do, you know?
Exactly. So when we got a place down south, and there's I mean, and men are just the same like this. I was just explaining it to one of our neighbor guys, and he come he says, you won't believe this, he said. I go out to my bike, and there's a dime sitting on my bike, and then
Oh
he gets
my
into his golf cart, and there's a dime in his golf cart.
oh my and it was this since you introduced him to this or
Oh, yeah, like I've said, because they're right here listening. I swear, it's just because they're right here. That's why the experience can happen so fast. It's like, we'll just put this right where they can see it.
how come I'm not getting dimes then? I
You know what? And
really would like to get some now.
you know what? And that's why, because one minister said to me, he said, well, Jesus is leaving them for me. And I said, well, if that's the case, then why didn't I find a whole bunch of dimes before? Right? It just happened for me when I asked my mom. It wasn't like, so that's why I can understand. Pennies, but we don't even have pennies in Canada anymore.
I still see them. I
See,
know
there you
pennies are gone, but
Okay, so then those are signs. 100%. Every
it's
time
so
you
hard
find
to find a penny.
yeah, that is a sign from somebody.
I find them
Absolutely.
all the time.
Yeah, so there you go. Your dad's been leaving you pennies and you didn't even know.
And you know what he used to say all the time was you can't make a dollar without a penny.
Well, there you go. That's a perfect sign.
He's like,
You have
a
got it.
penny.
He's been giving you a sign all this time and you didn't even know?
He's like,
Especially
because
pennies, because pennies aren't here anymore.
no,
Come
and
on.
he used to say that. He's like, oh, and I'm like, Dad, it's just a penny. Just leave it at the store. You know, when I used to go and
Oh,
buy something
oh
for
my
him, and he's
God.
like, it's not just a penny because he goes, you can't make a dollar if you owe a dollar. You can't make a dollar without that.
So there
So
you go. You don't be looking for dimes. Don't be looking for dimes. He's leaving you pennies, and he knows. And now he knows you'll know it because he's
he was
listening.
always cheeky, so maybe he wanted me to figure it out through you, right?
Yeah, well, do you know what? That's what I always say. You know what? I always say that whoever I tell the story to, the message is for you for the day. That's all I say, because I don't believe in life that there are any coincidences. Everything is divine timing, like just
Yeah, we were
a
talking
plan.
about that because I sent you a message and you were saying that the number three.
You know, threes have been in my life since this journey started. I seen the numbers 333 and it's like, why do I always see 333? And it was like, what does that 333 mean? So when I Googled it and researched it, it said that the ascended masters are with you. And I thought, oh my
What does that
gosh,
mean?
could Jesus be with me in this message? Like, oh my gosh. I was so humbled, so beyond humbled. But to this day, I am constantly seeing, because you can't see 333 most of the times you're looking at a clock, right? So you don't see it that often. So I see 133, 533, 1033. I always see the three threes. Like it's two, like it's just three in my life. Yeah. And like I said, your message came in at 333. And then when I did more research, that when you see any triple numbers, the angels are right with you. So when you're aware of that, it happens so much more for you. Like my dad's now, he's noticing, he says, I'm waking up and it's 555. And it's like, he's all this time. He says, well, the angels are right there with you, Dad, right? Like, I don't know. But if you search, and in fact, in my next book, a lady was very kind and she's put what all the triple numbers mean. So it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. I'm learning from you. I'm learning from you today. Earlier, we were talking a little bit about the show, and we were talking about how we don't give to ourselves sometimes.
Isn't that the truth?
So, do you agree with that statement? How do you like? Did you grow up feeling that you should put yourself first? I'm only asking because I know I didn't. It's something I had to learn. And I think our generation is just like this book is a gift not only to us to read, but a gift for yourself, right? And a gift for your mom, and
Oh,
to take the time to do that. So it's important.
yeah, exactly. We have to be receivers in order for us to be givers. Then we don't have the time. We don't have anything within us to give to somebody else. If we don't take those moments for ourselves and love ourselves, I think that's the bottom thing, is that truly love who we are will make such a difference in our life.
Yeah, because if you feel, proud of yourself, if you respect then other people will start to do it as well, Start receiving those dimes, Start receiving kind words from people, and don't be afraid to accept compliments, and to, sometimes we're very put offish, we don't know how to accept a compliment, or we don't know how to accept good things coming our way, but we deserve it.
Absolutely. And we need to live from the heart, because the heart is what knows everything, right?
Yes, and then maybe we can leave dimes for someone as well.
That's true.
Wow. This is,
And
I still
don't
have
let others
goosebumps.
discourage us. Don't let anybody else discourage what's coming from our heart.
I know life is so short, we need to just support each other and look
Mhm.
for the dimes. And if they're not there, don't lose hope. Something will appear.
Absolutely, because butterflies. I know my sister-in-law, she gets butterflies like from her mom. Like in the middle of winter, how does a butterfly show up?
What a beautiful feeling to feel that they're right next to us, because they're so missed, what I wouldn't give for another 5 minutes, even
Exactly.
if it was just like, you want to yell at me, yell at me. I just miss your voice, I don't even remember what you sound like anymore.
Do you know what, Nelia? It's my dad still has the answering service on his phone with mom's voice in it. And every time when when it goes to the answering machine, it's mom's, and it's like, oh my gosh, and she's going to be gone almost 5 years now. So it's just, I just love to hear her voice. Just hearing her voice.
We did that, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't listen to it. So I actually had my dad record a message for that reason on the answering machine, and he was being funny about it. He was a clown, and he was like, "Hey, hey, hey, I might not be here, but I'm here." Like, and he was just like, and people would call, and I'd be like, I would just call the house just to
Yeah.
hear that, and then hang up, and then call again. The answering machine would constantly be full, and I couldn't do it because I would be at my mom's and people would call and I wouldn't get to it in time, and then I'd hear it. But then I'd hear the person on the other side start sobbing
Oh
and be
no.
like, "Oh, I missed you so much to hear your voice again. I've missed you." And then I'm like,
Um,
I couldn't hear. Do you know what I mean? The people that were actually leaving messages were so
yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh no, it's your voice." Like I couldn't do it. I couldn't hear that sadness all the time. So I had to
Yeah.
eventually delete it because I enjoyed listening to it, but it was really, you
Hard,
know,
hard to listen for other people.
yeah. And I couldn't do it. I'm like, I can't do this. Every time somebody calls here, they're going to be crying on the machine. Everybody was crying, leaving a message all the time.
Oh, gee.
So I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's tough. Going through loss is tough. So anything we can hold on to, bring on the dimes, bring on the feathers, bring on everything. And I believe, like you, I believe that life is not over when we die. I believe it definitely looks different, but we can still be connected in some way. And I'm so happy that that's true, that I feel that way. Not everybody needs to feel the same way. Um, yeah, I'm so happy that you had that experience.
Mhm.
Parents are important. They're important people in our lives, and the relationship you had with your mom sounds like it was a beautiful one. And so, yeah, I'm happy for you that you've experienced that and that you're telling us about it so that we can be aware, and that we can read your book so we can read these beautiful stories and fill our hearts up. So thank you for
Aw.
writing it.
Well, I want to thank you for letting me be part of this podcast to share the story. It's been just wonderful meeting you,
Oh,
and with your help, we can share love's message with the world.
oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. Because I really, I love it when people want to share their happy moments, not just their sad moments. And so much time we talk about misery, and we talk about, misery wants company. And we all need to hear those, especially with COVID. Oh my goodness. We all need to hear those beautiful stories of connection, between human beings and between our heart. And we all need to feel that fuzzy feeling like, oh my God, look over there and you find something, and it makes you remember that beautiful bond or that relationship with someone, and gives you something to look forward to. If you're having a really hard time grieving, and then you see that and you're like, it's okay. You're gonna be okay. And I think it's important to believe in that. So thank you so much, Shannon, for telling us about this. It's interesting, and I do want to learn a little bit more about it. Where can we find your book?
Actually, you should find it on all the distribution channels,
Great.
and also on my website, lovesmessageandadime.com.
Great.
Yeah.
And I'll put everything in the show notes if people want to learn a little bit about, a little bit more. They want to buy the book. They'll have the link there and they can go and do that. That's
Perfect.
phenomenal. Good luck with your next book. Sounds
Thank you so
very
much.
interesting.
Thank you so much.
No, that sounds great. And it was fabulous meeting you. You're out in Alberta, right? Yay. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, and I certainly did.
And I wish everybody some dimes. Like I
Okay.
really do. Now that you've heard of this, you can be on the lookout. But it may come when you're not expecting it. So,
And that's what I believe. Yeah.
thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe or leave a review. See you next week on the Giving Starts With You podcast.